You enter into a dark forest. The surrounding area is eerily silent, as though all the air had been sucked away. And as you glance back, you notice that you can no longer see the clearing from which you'd entered, and suddenly it hits you. You are completely alone. The patches of trees grow thicker by the second, and you lose track of the hours, the days. Make a perception check. As you squint your eyes through the darkness, you begin to see them. However distant, your comrades are there in the forest, and the tides begin to turn as you realize you're all surrounding the beast. Roll for initiative.
I think I'm ready to start. These days, the news is all pretty much centered around the same thing: COVID-19 and its impact around the world. It's hard to look at any news site or turn on the TV without seeing the headlines about the statistics and the effects of social distancing. And while it feels like the world is spinning more slowly than it ever has, and we're literally more isolated than ever, today I want to talk to you about something that makes me feel most connected to my friends. No, not Facebook memes. Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D. So what is D&D? If you've never gotten a clear understanding what Dungeons and Dragons is from pop culture, don't worry. A lot of it is misrepresented to begin with. Looking at you, Big Bang Theory.
Just never played Dungeons and Dragons with girls before.
Oh, don't worry, sweetie. No one has.
The simplest answer is it is basically make-believe with rules. Pick one person who's going to be the dungeon master. They are the one who's going to run the game. And then you pick your individual character. Maybe you'd like to be a wizard or a fighter or a barbarian or a druid that can turn into animals. And then you all get together and collaboratively tell a story together.
So where do the dice come in?
When you have a moment of high stakes, a combat, or when you have a skill challenge, that moves to be resolved by dice.
And there's a 20-sided dice, and when you hit that 20, the max you can get, it really does feel like a jackpot. Like the serotonin that releases.
It adds this sense of tension and storytelling where even the person running the game doesn't necessarily know what's going to happen next.
And these adventures don't have to be a one-time thing. Many D&D campaigns go on for months, sometimes years, with a single cast of characters. So a few months ago, my coworker and I started getting into the idea that maybe we should just start our own campaign. So we literally just found a few folks around the office that we wanted to hang out with and just asked them to join in. To be clear, none of them had played a single game of D&D before.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the DM or Dungeon Master for our office game. It's one of the few times as an adult you get to just have like pure playtime. I wanted to try being a DM for the first time, and I wanted a really low stress environment with other new players who maybe didn't know if I messed up. And just a really great way to sort of unwind in a stressful world where magic is not real and you get to play in a world where magic is real.
Can I like pop inside and like do like a little like turn around and like sneak up against the corner and then like look?
Sure, go for it. So Ro goes in, all Pink Panther style.
I have this theory / life philosophy that if people I like invite me to do something that I've previously made fun of or ridiculed, I have to do it. And D&D was one of those things. Little did I know I would love it.
I had no idea like the depth of it. I think like my biggest exposure to it was the Stranger Things, and even that, it's just like you just kind of see tokens on a board and nerds going crazy. We're in a creative field, so we're being creative all day, but when we can all get together and play Dungeons and Dragons, it's like we're collaborating on something new.
Because I play with coworkers, it's fun to see them outside of that professional setting and like get to see people be silly.
See, I have this staff.
Uh-huh.
This is a glass staff.
Yeah.
We took this from someone named Glass Staff. You know what I mean?
That sounds like some lazy f***ing writing to me.
You're correct.
I've learned that I'm not as terrible at accents as I thought I was. He's, how do I put this lightly? A dragon. I don't know if you can tell by our, everything.
Since we've been quarantined and we've been playing online rather than in person, It's been a little bit more difficult, but also a little bit more fun. One of the things that I always liked about D&D, even before, was that it kind of gave me an excuse to be social and to hang out with people, even though now it's through a screen instead of in person.
Why are we fighting them again?
I don't know.
Dungeons and Dragons is something that can bring people together, whether it's making new friends, or it's an excellent way for people to bring their family together.
We, as like a married couple, have always loved building things together. So I think that it's like an extension of our love.
Yeah. My name is Luke Gygax. I'm one of the sons of Gary Gygax, the creator of Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm also the founder of GaryCon, a memorial convention held in my father's honor every March. I considered my father my best friend growing up. We spent a lot of time together gaming. At the age, my daughters are 13, 9, and 6. They're really prime candidates, the 9 and 13-year-old especially. I know several people who game with their children, and they always talk about how wonderful it is to create those memories and have that bond.
Luke's father, Gary Gygax, created Dungeons & Dragons in the 70s, but the face of D&D has kind of evolved over time. With the accessibility and simpler mechanics of the game's 5th edition released in 2014, came a whole new wave of players. Another big reason? The success of actual play shows, like Critical Role.
Against all odds, it seems that, D&D is the hip thing to do, and people have careers playing it professionally.
But the adventure that guided me into the light? CollegeHumor's Dimension 20.
Welcome to Fantasy High, CollegeHumor's tabletop role-playing game. It's the beginning of freshman year at the Eggford Adventuring Academy. Say hi, Intrepid Heroes.
Hi, Intrepid Heroes! This show's cast includes some of the most creative, hilarious, kind, and truly most humble people you could ever meet.
That's very
Just take the compliment. It's fine.
I don't know how. It would be hard to even think about who I would be without this game. I've had one game that's been running for almost 11 years now. There are friends that are deeply close to me that I can point to specific games of D&D and be like, that is the game that brought us close together.
When you're a kid, you make up games with your friends and you play pretend and you do all of that. And I think that's part of the reason we have such a connection to our childhood friends, but maybe it's harder to make friends as an adult.
Traveling alongside someone, them dying, or them getting really hurt and you healing them, or vice versa. It's like these heightened emotional stakes that make stronger bonds than just meeting up for a drink.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's a thing that when you're in character also, you're able to be a little bit more vulnerable because you get the distance from yourself. And I think it's on that same level of when you're I don't know, it's 2 a.m. and you're just with a friend and really getting into it.
As much as I really like the comedy and that's kind of my entryway to it, I think that my goal is always to be surprised by something unexpected that comes up in myself and honor it.
There's a level of empowerment that comes with being able to step outside yourself in D&D. One of my favorite characters to play, Fabian Arameus Seacaster, is everything I wasn't in high school, and I made him that way. Eventually things come back to me because I am Fabian.
Each character that you make is gonna have a piece of you in it, the maybe more unexamined parts of yourself. Definitely in my first season, I was okay, who was I and what was going on there?
My characters at the table were dating women before I was. I've played characters that are vastly different than me, but there's some nugget of truth in there that I am able to explore. The idea of an adventuring party is a found family that loves you for who you are.
We just did the finale for sophomore year of Fantasy High, our second Fantasy High season. And we recorded it remotely because we had 2 episodes left to go when quarantine started.
The story just had so much, like, you know, bursting momentum. It was like, we have to conclude this.
It was definitely like a shift just because you're going from being at the table with everybody and whatnot. Whatever like minute or 2 you have where you're like, is this gonna work? You're right in it.
It all pulled together in the end, and then we shot for 11 hours straight.
Every friendship I've ever had where we moved into playing D&D together became strengthened. And on the flip side of that, anyone I've ever played D&D with, high likelihood that we become friends as a result of that.
I think the best way to play is just to kind of jump in and go for it.
Do it. It's like hit people up that you think have played D&D and ask them if they'd be interested in playing. If you don't have that, reach out to friends that you think might be interested in D&D and lock them in.
Don't get intimidated by the amount of lore.
I'll let you on a secret. I've never read one of those rule books cover to cover.
Just dive in and have fun. Don't get overly stressed out about doing everything perfectly. Just have a good time.
This is just the perfect time for anyone to start a campaign. Like if you're talking about like DMing right now, why not? Everyone is looking for a reason to hang out.
Especially during this time, it's like, what else are you doing? You're rewatching Malcolm in the Middle? I am.
If you have adjusted your life to social distance and to quarantine yourself, you know, you're doing something that is altruistic. While we're all undergoing this mass group effort to keep each other safe, there's a poetry to playing a game about a group of heroes keeping each other safe.
It's a good way to leave this world behind and go into another world while being with my friends in a time where my friends are miles away.
We've found ourselves in uncharted terrain. Things feel dark and pretty frightening, but the connections we've made and continue to make will not go away. And if you're open to it, D&D can be an amazing way to make those relationships even stronger. D&D and tabletop role-playing games have changed the lives of so many for the better, and we want to keep the conversation going. If you have a story to share, please tell us all about it in the comments down below.